For me, when he says death, I'm thinking about um, Vipassana and misery. And like we experience misery when we don't actually face the things that are causing us misery, like actually face it head to head of like experiencing the present moment. And this is what happens and is happening, and surrendering to whatever is happening. And just like Jesus is like, what are what are you allowing to be done to me? But if this is thy will, let it be done
Mhm.
in this physical body. If this is what's happening to me, I'm on this cross and I'm supposed to die, then thy will be done. I will surrender to it. And I think that society, we're so used to the narcotics, the running away from not facing the misery, but still living in misery constantly. And the spaces where, because I feel like we're constantly dying, the spaces where you finally surrender and well face the misery that you're experiencing and allow for yourself to be in that present moment, to surrender to it, there's a death that happens, and then you continue on when on your journey, at least for me.
Yeah, I see it similarly. I think for a lot of things, like we were talking about identifying or attaching to certain labels, I think that sometimes it's hard for people to change their behavior because it requires a death in who they were before. It is a death when you leave samskara or whatever, a constant behavior, say that you've always been known as the angry person. I think it's very hard for people sometimes to leave that as part of their identity because it represents a death. Like, I don't know, I've heard almost the same thing from people who maybe not in this like such a negative way, but people who have babies. It's like it's sort of like a death of who you were when you were not a mother or father, especially for your first baby. Like it's letting go. Yeah, it's letting go. But then there's great things on the other side. So it's still a death and you have to face it.
Mhm. Yeah, and letting go of the identifications you have created for yourself, who you have said to yourself, who you think you are. I am this angry person. I am this person with a husband. Who am I without my husband? I am this person with this type of house. What happens when the house burns down? Or yeah, Um, but also, like, I wanted to add on the what August said, like very 100% true with the misery, like that. I think like like pain is inevitable and suffering is a choice, like, but we have to also know that it's a choice. Like if we're not present with our pain fully, and if we're not aware of our pain and we know our pain or sit with our pain, it becomes a suffering, and it becomes an extended period of more pain because we're not there with it, right?
That's so
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
true. And
Yeah.
even for both of you to share and stuff bringing up um, pregnant people going through labor, that's one thing that when I'm supporting mothers, that they're like, I don't want to lose myself. Like I'm a wife, or I'm an artist, or I'm a daughter. Like the titles that they attach themselves to,
Mm-hmm.
once they are in that space of like birthing, it's they're fearful of losing themselves and getting this new title that they're attaching themselves to. So some people embrace it, like, yes, I want to be a mother, and but some people are fearful of it because they feel like they're going to lose who they have become so accustomed of being, and they're like, I don't know who I'll be on the other side, but they have to die. And sometimes I remind them, like, you becoming a mother doesn't erase the person that you were before, like the being that you are now. Like you can still be a wife, but all these titles that you attach yourself to, you can still have those parts of you, and you're just adding something else. But it's this feeling like they're going to lose themselves being a mother. um but also when it comes to misery, and how he mentioned about going to the Himalayas or going to a different city, like you're still living in that misery. It brings me to remind myself, like wherever you go, you're going to still experience the same experiences if you're in that state of being. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that, like, if you're in New York, because of New York, this is what's happening to me. No, it's happening to you because that's your journey. It's happening to you. So if you go
Mm-hmm.
to the other side of the world, and you, either if you're dating or working in the same type of environment, you're like, why? I'm on the other side of the world. Why am I still experiencing these things? That's, you haven't faced the misery, you haven't faced the death yet. You're going to continue to relive these experiences until you become aware, of them.
So many people I've seen and met like are attached to, for example, like very traumatic experiences in their life. Like they're identified with their trauma so much. So, and they don't want to let go of the trauma, So they're like deeply making themselves so much, their life so miserable by constantly like identifying with what has happened. Do you understand what I mean by that? Like, yeah. And that's crazy. It's the crazy behavior. I mean, for us, maybe it's
I mean, humans are crazy. We're all crazy. Like,
exactly.
we are literally crazy beings.
Yeah, but it's so like weird when you start to see it, like how like when you start to see it, it's so easy in a way, but also so hard, of course, at the same time.